Hey, all right, now we're going to be adding some style to our web page. So we need to go to Teams and open up whatever class you're in and then continue working on that project. And so this is where we left off. It's all just kind of blah, right? But we got all of our content in there for the most part. There is one thing that was bugging me. I don't like the spacing of these lines because I started each of these as a new paragraph. What it does is it automatically goes and opens, like every time you start a new paragraph, it adds a little bit of what's called padding or margin between the two. It puts a little space between there. And I don't like that. So we're going to fix that right now. So I'm actually going to make these 3 lines all part of one big paragraph. So if you notice these right here, I'll put a space between all of these. So these are those 3 lines right there. Okay, and so I open this paragraph, and then at the end of that link, I close the paragraph. I'm not going to do that anymore. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of all of these paragraph tags. And then at the end, I need to close that paragraph. So I started the paragraph, close the paragraph. But you're going to see there's going to be an issue that happens here. So now all of those 3 lines are on the same line. Even though I hit enter here, the way the computer reads this code is it doesn't actually know that like I hit enter. Like it doesn't care. I guess it knows. It just doesn't care. I need to tell it specifically that I want this thing to be on a new line. So what I do is at the start of each one of these lines, I'm going to put what's called a line break. It's kind of like telling the computer to hit enter. So it's just a BR tag. It's a special tag that only needs one of them. And so watch what happens when I just put this one here and then I hit run. Right after that line, that Sunny Slope High School, it went down to the next line. And so I'm going to do the same thing in front of the FBLA advisor. Okay, and then I hit run. Good. So it said, hey, computer science teacher at Sunny Slope High School. It did this line, and then it said line break. Go to the next line. Say this, line break. Go to the next line. So on. So this actually looks a lot better to me. Okay, so we got the bio spacing figured out. Next thing is, for the love of God, make this picture smaller. So what we need to do is we actually don't have a CSS page here. So we need to add a new file, right? So I'm going to click this little icon here that says add file. And then we need to give it a name. So I'm going to say style.css. And you got to put that .css to let it know that it's a CSS file. Okay. Enter. Yes, that's what I want. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is let's go MDN CSS link. Because remember, we need to actually link this thing to the CSS page. So nope. This first one, external resource link. And then right here is a good example of it, right? I need to have this exact line here. But notice their href, the thing that they're, the file name that they're linking to is called main.css. Mine's going to be a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this line of code. And this line of code goes in the head section. So right after the title, I can just hit enter. Right? And if I run this, it's still not going to know that it's there because it's not the correct file name. Mine was called style.css. So instead of main, I'm going to say style.css. And then we didn't put anything in here yet. So obviously nothing's going to happen. But now the HTML page knows that it needs to look at whatever I have written on this style.css page and apply those rules to it. Okay, so what we can do right away is go, this is an image tag, right? So remember, anytime I'm doing a CSS rule, I need 3 things. I need a selector, I need a property, and a value, right? So my selector is the image tag. That's the thing that I'm changing. The property that I want to change about it is the width. And we go colon. So I have my selector, I have my property that I'm changing, and now the value that I want to change it to. Let's go 200 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's a lot better. In fact, I say we hit it on the mark with 200. Let's try 250. See if that's a little Nope, too big. I like 200. Cool. All right. One of the other things, let's see, we needed to change some fonts. We needed italic and we needed bold fonts. So let's just look up in MDN. Let's go MDN, HTML italics. So emphasis element, use the I element to mark text that is an alternate tone or mood. Okay, so here is the I element, right? So what this is for anything that idiomatic text, tech terms, taxonomy, anything that you just want to kind of separate from normal text, we use the I element. And so here's how it works. All I'm going to do, so let's say usually, authors on a page are in italics. So let's go down to these authors. And all I need to do is whatever I want in italics, I'm going to put the little I tags around it. So now I open an I tag, the name of that author is inside it, and then I close that I tag. Right? So let's see. There it is. It's in italics. So I'm going to do that now for all the other authors on this page. There we go. I had a little mistake there, but I fixed it. All right. So we have all of these authors are now in italics, which is good. All right. And then let's find something to put in bold. I don't know. Let's put the email address down there in bold. Okay, so if you don't know how to do bold, let's just MDN or W3. Let's see what W3 has to say. W3 HTML bold. Text formatting. This text is bold. So now with W3 schools, they will list a bunch of the stuff. So notice this is the element that's going to give me bold text or strong for important text or any of these different things. All right, so let's just use the B tag for bold. So around my email address down here, I'm going to put the B tag. So I start it before that email address, and then after, I'm going to close that B tag. There you go. One of the things too, if we want it to be italic and bold, getting crazy. Boom. Okay, now it's bold and italic because I wrapped both of those things. I have an I tag and a bold tag around my email address. So kind of cool. All right, so now let's actually deal with some more styling. So we did the image size. Let's give this background some color. So I'm going to go to my CSS. Remember, the entire web page is in what's called the body element, right? If we go back to our index.html, everything right here lives inside the body. So if I change the body, so I select the body and change the background color. I always like beige. There we go. Okay, so it's definitely a little easier on the eyes than just plain old white, but you can mess with anything. You can make this black. You can make this anything. Whenever you see these little color squares here, if you just go ahead and click it, it's going to bring up the shader for you. And then you can change this to whatever you want, right? When you get out of it and hit run, it's going to change all that stuff, but I don't like that one. I like beige. So we got the background. All right, let's find some other things to mess with. Let's mess with these HRs, the horizontal rules. So I'm going to go MDN CSS HR. There we go, the thematic break. So here's an example. That looks kind of cool, right? A little double line. So you see the HTML that's there. So that's what their HTML looks like. And then if you want to see what CSS rule is doing that, we can click this little CSS thing. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of stuff here. And the beautiful thing about web development is you don't really need to know every single thing. Hopefully you're learning as you go, but we can copy. Let's give a little paste. Let's say HR, and then I'm going to actually, I don't even need to do that. I can just paste because we got HR and then HR, the colon after, that's called a pseudo class. That's actually a little bit something fancier, but we don't, again, we can just mess with it. So what I'm seeing is we definitely have this cool looking little double line with this little symbol, but the symbol has a background that's white. And so see here, the background white. So again, I want that to match what the background of my page is. So instead of this weird little hashtag FFF thing, which is called hexadecimal, we're going to go beige. See if that does it. Hey, what do you know? The background, changing the background to match my body background makes that look good. Okay. Let's see. We messed with the HRs. Let's mess with the H3s as well. So again, let's just see what is available. MDN, CSS, H3. This is probably just going to be a bunch of examples on like what the different headings look like. Probably not ways we can decorate them. So if you want to mess with any type of text, we have this thing called text decoration. Text decoration. Right? And so you see there's underline, underline dotted. You can change the color, all that good stuff. Okay. So let's scroll down and see what we got. There's not many good examples. Okay, here we go. Nah, I don't really like it. So you can get like squiggly lines, strike through text, all that good stuff. Let's see what W3 has to offer. Text decoration. So we got these. Meh. Ooh, fancy. Okay. So if I wanted, let's say I wanted this blue one. Actually, let's just do this. Let's do this top one with the dotted and everything. The rule, so this is being applied to an H1, but the rule is text decoration. And then there's all these multiple kind of shorthand ways of saying stuff. So I'm just going to copy this rule. And let's put it in there for my H3s. See what happens. Might be ugly. But there we go. See, and if you wanted to change the color, so you see that little square that pops up, we could again just change whatever you want. So if you wanted green, right, hit run. Now we got green. Actually, kind of the red was okay. But again, you can mess with it. You can make it whatever you want, all that good stuff. The one last thing I'm going to do is actually something that you guys can do down here at the bottom. So for your contact info, we had talked about possibly adding some of your social media stuff. So a trick is you can actually add images to be links. So right up here, I made some text a link, and let's actually practice adding an image for a link. So like if you have Twitter and you want Twitter to be like, you want someone to click the little Twitter icon and have it take them to your personal Twitter. Well, first I need to add that image here. So I'm going to say upload file, and I found a Twitter logo earlier and downloaded it. So, right, that Twitter logo is now right there. I'm going to drag this into my images folder. And so now underneath this, I'm going to add an image. Let's see if that pops up. Now it made this big, right? It made it 200 pixels wide because earlier in the CSS, I said, I want any image that shows up here. I want it to be a width of 200 pixels. And there's ways for us to specify like one image and not another, but we haven't got into that yet. So we don't need to worry about it too much yet. Okay. But so we have in our HTML, we have this picture. And now all we need to do is think, okay, if I want to make this a link, we had talked about using an anchor tag for a link, right? So I need to surround this image with an anchor tag. So I put an opening anchor tag, and then after the image, I'm going to put the closing anchor tag. And then the last thing you need to do is href, and you're going to show where you want this link to go. So I'm not going to put my Twitter or anything, but let's say something weird, google.com. Okay. So when I run this, open in a new tab, this now, see my little hand pops up. This is a clickable link, even though it's an image. Okay. And when I click it, it should take me to, it's not happy with that. HTTPS. How's that? Ta-da. There you go. All right. So now we have our styling, right? We can double check our rubric. We have some styling. Again, make this yours. Do whatever you want with it. You can find so many things that you can play around with and put on this thing. But this right here would be a decent example of our very first website that you made from scratch. All right. So when you are done, what you would do is go up here to this submit button. This will submit your REPL for review and notify the team's admins. And then so when you hit submit, it's good to go. Now, just because you hit submit doesn't mean you're done with it. If you make any changes, the only thing is if you want me to see those changes, like let's say you changed what this says, you know, favorite books, and you just changed it to books. You want me to see that, you have to click resubmit. Okay. And then I will see whatever your final version is. Got it? All right. Happy coding.